everyone, welcome. I am so excited about the video series we're starting today because I think it's about something that's going to become huge in the next couple years, even months, and I'm talking about digital addiction. All right, we're just gonna dive right into it. So when I say digital addiction, I'm not even just talking about social media, I'm talking about input and information addiction in general. So this will be a 3-part series. We're gonna talk about what it's doing to your brain and your soul, aside from the stuff, obvious things you already know. And we're gonna talk about my plan that I use and I give people that's extremely helpful for defeating any kind of digital addiction. And then the last video, I'm gonna share the specific apps and tools and practices I do that have been game changers. All right, let's dive in. We're gonna talk about what it's actually doing to your brain and your soul that you might not know. The first one is the most obvious one that you do already know, is that it is addicting. So we know that dopamine addiction is a real thing, and it's as real as drugs and sugar and alcohol. That is how addicting social media is because of what it does to your dopamine. It's funny because the app industry is the only other industry besides the drug industry that refers to their customers as users. So what they do is they exploit your psychological vulnerabilities using hooks. So they actually they know how your brain works, and they designed it to make it irresistible. So seeing what other people are doing all day long, getting your likes, always having something new to see and come up is directly exploiting your psychological vulnerabilities to want to do that. Yes, it's addicting, and I know that a lot of the people that are making these apps don't even use them themselves or allow their kids to use them because they know how destructive and addictive they are, and they're actually using their time and attention to do things that grow their mind instead of shrink it. So I'm not going to go into any more detail about how they get you addicted. There's tons of resources you can look into for that, but obviously it is an addiction, a dopamine addiction. The more you do it, the more you're going to need to get that same high. All right, now number 2, let's talk about something that isn't talked about as much, which is life distortion. So I just love this. Your inputs determine your outlook. Really think about that, because it's crazy when you think about it. Your inputs are determining the way you see reality. So if you think about it, we're seeing everybody's lives all day long. That's our inputs, and that's completely determining how we view our own lives, how we think our own lives should go, what we think we should be doing, which then of course is creating extreme dissatisfaction with our own lives, and turns us into wanting to buy more things and think our life should be different. And then of course all the comparison that's causing the insane anxiety and depression that's going on today. And side note, on a physical level, the constant checks are overloading your nervous system, which then is causing imbalances in every other system in your body. And we're not relating that to our phone time. So when the Bible says envy rots the bones, it's 100% scientifically true. And that envy causes you to become, to think your life should be different and to want something else. And that is causing direct physical health problems. Another thing that it's doing is, let's talk about the root cause of why we check things. So the root cause of why we check things is because we are uncomfortable with feeling emotions. So we don't want to feel anxious or tired or bored or angry, or at the end of the day just exhausted and you can't do anything but consume and numb your mind. So if we want to master distraction, we have to learn how to deal with discomfort. So the problem is that every time we turn to our phone when we're feeling anxiety, tired, discomfort, whatever, that's acting like a digital pacifier that's atrophying our ability to deal with hard things. All right, another thing that it's doing is it's taking our ability away to get creative, or to hear from God, to get creative solutions and wisdom. We are designed to be creative as the result of any kind of discomfort or boredom. So when we're in solitude with no inputs for a long period of time, that's when our default mode network gets activated, which that's when we get the creative ideas and wisdoms and solutions and hear from God that we need. But we're not doing that anymore because every spare second we have, we reach for our phone. So we're never actually bored anymore, and we're never have long times of no input to actually get these creative ideas and solutions that could be available to us. All right, now perhaps the biggest problem that's happening is it is destroying our ability, our attention, and our ability to put our attention where we want, when we want, and for how long we want, which is the superpower of the 21st century. That is what's going to set a successful person and a not successful person apart. So your focus muscle and your attention is like a muscle, so you have to work it out every day in order for it to get strong. And obviously, say if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And we are losing it at an incredibly fast pace because we're not putting our attention on something for a long period of time and just trying to strengthen that muscle. It's just quick checks, and we're not stopping the input to actually work out that attention muscle. Meaning, prayer and meditation is a great example of how you do that. When you're in that, you put your attention on one thing. When it wanders, you bring it back. That's like lifting a weight, right? And we're not doing that. So we're not able to focus. We're distracted. We think we have ADHD and all of this because we're actually just not practicing our attention muscles. We're actually doing the opposite and like sitting on the couch and destroying them. All right, and another thing, the last thing we'll talk about is information input overload. Did you know that we consume more information in one day than our ancestors did 400 years ago, their entire lives? One day, their entire lives. We are addicted to information. So like I said, social media addiction is a big one. But it's also, you can be addicted to listening to podcasts. You can be addicted to checking the weather, your email, all of these things. It's every time you check it, you're overloading your mind. So you have to think of your brain and your mind and your consciousness like we do food. So obviously, you know, if you eat too much, you'll get very, very sick and you won't feel good. If you consume too much media, you'll also start getting all the symptoms of mental problems, anxiety, depression, exhaustion, even other health problems. We don't correlate that to our overconsumption of information, because we have to realize that our mind has to digest every bit of information we're taking in. And so if we're taking in constant information all day long without giving it a break, then we're going to get very, very sick. So it is very much like your digestive system and why people fast, because when you are not eating food and you're not consuming anything, your body has a chance to rejuvenate and repair, and all your cells start to rejuvenate and turn over and clean out everything that doesn't need to be there and everything like that. Well, your mind has to do that too. And if you're not giving it time, a long period of time to do that, then it's going to get backed up and it's going to have a lot of problems. So think of your mind. You only have so much space in your mind, okay? And you can choose what you fill it with. So you're just filling it all day long with just random things that other people are doing, random information. Then you're not leaving room, one, to hear from God, and two, to come up with the creative solutions and ideas that you might like. And it's just crazy to me that people usually follow over 500 other people and they see what they're doing all day long, and our minds were not created for that. They physically were not created to be able to handle that. We were created for a tight community where you have a few close people that you know what's going on in their lives, they know what's going on with yours. But when you know what's going on in 500 other people's lives all day long, your brain goes crazy. All right, so we know we need to stop the addiction of information, of social media, of the weather, of podcasts. We need to have strong boundaries of what we let into our mind and when, so that we can begin operating like we have the potential to operate, and get rid of all of the anxiety, overwhelm, exhaustion, depression that is coming with it. We know if we're constantly consuming information, especially right when we wake up and before bed, we're not giving our mind a chance at all to heal and rejuvenate, get rid of what needs to be getting rid of, remember what it needs to remember. I'm not doing that. And it's rewiring our brain to need that constant input and to need to check first thing in the morning, before bed, and throughout the day when you're bored. Which then is creating a distortion of the way you see your own life, and it's not allowing you to hear everything from God that you could, because there's no room for it. Okay, so we understand that it's not good, but the next video I'm going to go through my 3-step plan of how I manage everything, how you clean everything out, and how you defeat digital addiction, which has been so incredibly helpful. And then the video after that, I'm going to share the apps that I use specifically to help do that. So I'm very excited. So I will see you in the next video.